Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we are here for the second half of the second round of Universe So, my apologies for the delay on the analysis. I have Christmas performances that I am in charge of during this holiday season, and this weekend was one of those times, and so I wanted to be a good steward of my role for those, so that's why we had to wait until today. But I'm very excited to be able to look at these. How we're going to look at them is this. We have Mamma Mia in Prison to look at. Yes, we've already analyzed Mamma Mia, the first group, but we're going to look back to back, just like we've done in the previous round review, and we're going to take our pick, and then we're going to analyze the second match for Mamma Mia, and then go into Prison, do it the same way. Okay, I'm excited. I hope you are. Let's go ahead and get into it. I still really like the choreography. Oh man. Because of the BPM, it makes everything way faster on your transitions, on your dynamics. Oh man. All right. Whew. That one's like the epitome of a at the end of it. All right, here we are. Ready. He took the rap part there again, didn't he? Okay. So, interesting. So, remember, I don't know what was modified. I don't know any of those things. Based on the 2 videos I'm given here, I'm assuming they are in the same context of recording, right? Whether it's live, whether it's practice and they did a live overlay, it doesn't matter with any of that. I personally, if I was in the audience and I was watching these, I would still vote for beat, surprisingly. And yes, I will say, because I'm a choreographer and I do performance direction and I do those things, I have been on the empathetic lens of doing it and also asking people to do it. And so whenever you look at the difficulty of choreography to tone, like to pitch, to how the track is arranged, those types of things, it's the same arrangement. You just have different people take on different roles, but it's the same arrangement, same notes that are being hit, that kind of stuff, right? So what we have to look at is who was more stable, which I do think Groove was more stable, but were they stable significantly more to justify the difficulty of choreo to where beat was to their difficulty of choreo? I don't know. But just if I was an audience member and I watched those back to back, I would vote for beat. You don't have to agree with me. That's what Jessica, who's there in audience, would vote for. Now, because there's no criteria, it's an audience vote. We can kind of look at this however, just like we have in the past, but let's go ahead and talk about it. They had more stability, but there were still certain sections where you could hear their holds, or when they were trying to project, waver a little bit, which just shows the difficulty of the arrangement, you know? So if that was what El Captain's goal was, I think he succeeded. I don't know if either group just bodied it vocally so much so that it was like, oh, that's their track, right? But Groove, if we're just looking off of sound, Groove was more stable. So we're going to give them that for sure. They had a lot more unison though. So he did a little body roll there. They all bled it down. And then they go cross, uncross, and I do like the pull going on into the chest, into the core that they're using for that. And I like the opposition, not really opposition, but the complementary motion coming from our first feature there. And they go in, and then we go up. This is very stable here. I like the bleed, like the hinge around, and then we bring it through. Really fun visual on that. It's nice. And they go hip ball change, really nice, and then they wave it out. Really fun. And then we speed change it towards the inside. Speed changes are really fun and can work in your favor for cases like this. If you want stability of vocals, but you want a dynamic that allows there to still be motion in play, but it makes it feel like we're tailoring to our track, a speed change is perfect for that. So we love that. Yeah, even right there, da 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 da. Like, it's not the clearest note shift, but it could just be my ear and what my preferences are. So we're going to chalk it up to that too, as to why maybe I feel very similarly to both. But the little runs on this was nice, little speed change, and then they syncopate with the footwork down on the second half of that before they go in the accent around and they use that to transition. We have some of our members using their body a little bit more fully than others. Then he hits it over. I like the extension, the speed change of his arm as they all swing the arm, making theirs a little bit more full, and they bring it up, which is fun, and they go push, push, push around, little pas de bourrée out of that. Whoa. Yeah, and then still I want, da-da-da. So it goes hit, around, da-da-da. So that's fine. I forgot who got traded here. I know Groove got somebody from beat and somebody from rhythm. For me, I'm like, that's smart, honestly, I think. And they got people who they needed. And I think that's something that, there have been some people, at least in like the commentary that I've seen, there've been some people in comments that were not quite sure as to why certain directors made certain choices. Some thought it was political, some thought it was to be mean. I personally think it's because the directors know what they're looking for. That's what they were doing in the draft, so they're just replicating that, and they're like, okay, we're lacking this, so we're gonna pick somebody with who we have available to do that. And I also think, like with Groove, they could have picked both from rhythm, they could have picked both from beat, but they picked one from each. For me, that felt pretty freaking fair, honestly. And I don't think that starter versus bench, there's like I don't put a hierarchy on it because everyone's competing for the same thing at the end of the day. They haven't said otherwise that we're debuting a bench and a starter team. We're debuting seven people, right? So who's in that 7? We don't know, right? So everybody's fair game on it. So it doesn't matter to me if somebody picks from starter to string. Everyone has the same value to me of participation, but I know some have certain skill sets that can work better for this league than others, so there's that to keep in mind too. So anyway, but the tap over, I like the grab with both. He brings it, right? And he goes, like that right there, that's tricky to hit live. Like you're going through your break in your vocals, right? And that's, yeah, so like you could hear like the heaviness of how physically demanding doing this track is. And out of the two, this one is not nearly as difficult in fullness. Or how they're doing it is not, they're not utilizing their torso as aggressively as Team Beat was. And to me, I am factoring that in on a performance. I like that boom, mamma mia, nice little charisma moment there. He goes and he fans it. I like how they go over and they go high to low. And then they use the high to low on the elbow to transition out to the outside. And they rock it back, and then they hit, I like the swivel down onto the outside is nice. And they go bounce, 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 and they kick, and they bounce. And the second time was nice. So they syncopated pretty nice. Now, with the LEDs, I'm kind of, I don't know, maybe the LEDs to me feel a smidgen distracting for the kind of fits that they have because they don't have a contrasting color or textile. They have jean and black. So having so much in texture behind them, to me, makes it a little tricky to find things when you're having all black, when you have black as your base on your LEDs. So I don't know, and that's no one's note, that's just what it is. I don't know whose call that was, that's life. I mean, this is the first time I'm actually talking about the LEDs in this way as a note, or something that I'm observing that does feel like it's harder to see what's going on, but that's just a personal note. They hits it around, and then we bring it up. So we do have a lot more unison in play with this group, which to me, I could be influenced off of just the sheer layered complexity of this, right? Like there's so much going on here, but we know what they sacrificed. Here, they maintained that significantly better, but the cost though is the performance of the choreography. Like I don't know how the audience is going to take that at all, and that's not my job. It's just, I want to be helpful in that way, but at the end of the day I can only go off of what I look for, which is what I've already said, right? So they're doing a little guada guada lower half with the syncopation upper body, so that was nice. So it was polyrhythmic through content, which was nice. Da da da. So they hold it. So they're being very strategic choreographically. This feels like the choreographer was being mindful of the toolkit, which to me I highly respect. I do. It's nice. blah, blah, but they're not executing it to the degree of fullness that I feel would really help resonate to the fullness of the course. But could that be out of influence of what I just watched? Yes, I'm not going to discount that, but you have to remember whoever's voting could also have that as an influence as well. And there's also probably a lot of people in the room that already knew who they were going to vote for before the start of the show. So it wouldn't have mattered how well a group performs or not. We have to chalk it up to that too. We're no stranger to that if you've dealt with a reality show, competition show like this. The bouncers are fine. So that was really nice. Body roll, nice little tension there. A little speed change once again, just repackage. We get it out, boom, hit, and then we accent with the head down to the shoulder. And then we bring it to the hip, and then we go hit, hit, which is nice. Little step touches are nice, so that was fun. And then, of course, with your feature, he walks forward with only one arm. Everyone else does two. Like, this LED looks pretty fine, but it was because we're operating with the color, like more color than black, which is nice. And it goes hit, hit, who we are. So it goes who we are. So I like the presentation, which is fun. And it goes speed change again. And so I do know he was the rapper from the last one and starting, for Team Groove, and I know that that's not what he normally was, but he became rapper again. I kind of think that was a smart move in the sense of it allows him a chance to redeem the role for himself. It's just a good way of, exposure therapy is what I would call that, because I know he made some diction mistakes and some lyric mistakes, which can cost you if your audience knows the words and you're like, that's off, you know what I mean? Yeah, I like the energy on that, which is really nice. Nice fullness. I like the usage of the body on that part. They hit, hit, hit up, and then they go do a slide transition. I like the different directions. They bleed up the hands up nice and tall. I like the boom, boom, the drop, drop on that is nice. They reach away. They hit. They pull on the shoulder. Yeah, da, 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 and they run. Na, 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 and they go pull, pull. So I like it's like a little uppercut, but they interrupted it, which was really nice to see. Bring it over, swing, swing, and then they press it out. They clap to switch over, which is nice. Da-da-da-da, which is nice. A little partner moment, which is also fun. It did look like we were going for a more complex waving transition between the back to the front, meaning that they're connected and one individual waves, exit waves to the other individual, which triggers his wave. But it wasn't the clearest for me, but I'm just saying that's what it gave in structure. The roll the dice, and then we speed changed again. So that's your go-to. I'm telling you, that's what's saving the stability right now, is having the usage of as many speed changes as they are in this. And they did the shoulder, shoulder, shoulder on that, which is fine. Then they rotate it through. So how they're structuring the pre-courses, I think, is really nice. It's nice to see. It's in the higher life. Yeah. So the course is, to me, in the movement quality side, not as strong as and impactful, but also as a choreographer, that's going to be, my preference is going to be musicality integration on your track, as well as, matching the energy that your track is asking for. That to me is an important element. And the goal would be your vocals to match the stability of that demand, right? But we can't have it both ways sometimes, and that's okay. I understand the checks and balances of that. So for me, I can see Groove win because of the stability of vocals. But if we're looking at strictly choreography, I would go for Team B quite aggressively. Do you know what I mean? And now it really would just be the chalk of the moment. If I'm there watching both, what would be my go-to here? So it's so fascinating, isn't it, right? Yeah. Na, 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 na. And so that one was a little different. It wasn't a guada guada like it was the first time. So we're just rebounding off of this leg, on this left leg. But because they have the knee inverted, it gives that impression that they're trying to pull that Afro-influence move, right? The Afrobeat move. So that's impressive that he's able to do a little whole head around, but also, hit the falsetto. So that's nice. Or it's not him, and it just looked like it was. I don't know. Yeah. And he kept it up, so that was nice. Cool. Showing who we are. Oh, he also got the abs out. So I like the different da-doon on the bass. Being able to hear that. Switched over in the directions. I like the pulse on that. Or maybe, just pulse on the leg and then pressing the arms down with the head is nice. And we pull it on the ribs. They go high-low. The accent with the shoulder is nice, rolling it through. Yeah, so that's nice. I really like the cannon moment. I think they ended up posing through it, didn't they? Let me see. So it was a true cannon. I like that. But not everybody did it. At the end, they just had everybody add on to go to in every other transition. There's your speed change again. You have that in the track, which is why every speed change they've done has not been out of place, because there's so many things in your music that you can fall that on. So you have the sound, and that's, it's like something deflating. I literally had my car tire get a piece of metal shard in it last week, and that's what I was hearing was a so I'm telling you, I really resonate deeply with that sound right now, but I digress. And that little head nods were fine. He goes through, little body roll there. Da-da-da-ba. The bleed through, that was nice. Traveling all around. Yeah, party mode, let's go. Different last chorus. I like the framing. And they go and they press it with the crossover, which is nice. The punch over, and then they retract it is also nice. They hit it down, which is also nice to see. Stop, and then they swivel that leg around, creating a subtle hinge. They hit down, down, up. I do feel like an observation, like you can see here, we have some levels, like we're intentionally trying to transition with some levels. I know it is difficult at times to go really low. I do think fighting to go a smidgen lower in the transitions across the board for this routine would really help show the contrast. Like I'm able to see it pretty well here, but in other cases I was like, are we trying to deviate a level? I don't know. So that would be like my observation for that. Little body roll. Some chose to trace it, and then the range could improve for that part. The punches low, mid, high is nice. Bring it over. Head nod is nice. Show them who we are. That's nice. And then we do a little walk away. So, I mean, after analyzing it, if I'm being honest, like see, so like I said, I would vote for B. Without analyzing it, I could see myself still do that. By analyzing it, though, seeing both, I mean, not having stable vocals, being an idol, so a singer who dances, that's how I view an idol. Not really the other way around as much, even because then it would be a dance crew. That's how I view things. So I could see for this challenge specifically, I could also pull groove for it because of the stability of vocals, and their choreography wasn't overly simplistic, but it gave the impression of being simpler because it was 2 beats, but it looked more strategic on it was properly balancing the vocals in the dance. So I think for the challenge itself, Groove was able to balance it more effectively with the whole team, not just the members, but those who choreographed it, those who helped on the arrangement and picking the line distribution. I think that's going to be what I vote. So even though I said B after the initial watch, after analyzing it, I think I'm going to go Team Groove for just the scope of it's the singers who dance, not dancers who sing. Because if it was the other way around, then I would give it my vote to B, right? So, I don't know. This makes it so exciting. But also, I'm saying this right now, too. There's a chance that some people may be in the comments being like, Jessica, how dare you vote this. I've gotten that before. That's why it's important to watch the whole thing, because my opinion can change as I'm analyzing it, right? And that's the beauty of being in this position to do it. So, just hopefully you made it to this point to where you can see that I genuinely, I do try to have an open mind on both sides, and now you just saw an example of it. Okay, here we go. We have Prison. We are starting with Team Groove first, and then I believe it is Team Rhythm's bench. Okay, ready? What would make it work is if they added a bedrock to it, and it would be like we're doing fiction. Nice. Wow. Wow. Well done. Okay, next group right here. Such a 10 thing. Isn't it? Ah, look at them recognizing the sound. That's cool. Okay. See, look, I almost thought it was over. It's the track itself I thought in my head. Both times. Ah, it's over. It's not. You hear the breath. Okay. Wow. Who would I vote for? Oh, man. I think I could vote for either for different reasons, but I will say I could see Groove pulling it because they had stability of vocals the entire time. I did hear it waver a bit in the middle with Rhythm. Rhythm did have more dynamic choreography. Also, this is an interesting topic that I'm excited to dive into with y'all. I do know from the episode, when I listened to this track initially, I was like, this sounds like a mix of Vix and Beast, specifically Fiction with Beast and Vix's Error. But I think Chongsub said that it was actually an inspiration from Big Bang, which I can understand now. But I was more so like, some of my favorite tracks from Vix, like Error from Vix is still probably one of my favorite tracks on their entire discography. I still stand by that quite aggressively. But with Beast, Fiction, I just recently revisited that, but I've known that song for a hot minute and a half because of the bedrock integration in it. But whenever he announced that was inspired, like Beast Fiction specifically, I was like, oh, that's so cool. However, I'm going to say, there is a fine line between having a certain concept that we are going for that is inspired by that time and feeling like we're trying to cover it or replicate it. I know that was Chongsub's strategy, was to bring a nostalgic lens to things, but remember, that's in the arrangement. The arrangement goes both ways. Both Rhythm and Groove have the same arrangement, so they have the same degree of intensity they can go for. Now, out of the two, I can see an observation that Team Groove, theirs may have teetered a little too close, possibly, to that Gen 2 era of movement progression. Like, we were tying so hard into the nostalgia that we were losing the beauty of what the new generation has. It doesn't feel like a new generation equivalent to me. And that's the beauty of being an analyst from multiple generations now, like actually covering a lot of them, which is super dope. Because when I see Gen 2 versus Gen 5, I see a lot more of the in-depth progressions on certain things, especially in composition. Now going into Rhythm, I think if I'm being honest, if it was just from the beginning going up until the end of the first course, I would have given it to Rhythm. But from the first course on, you could hear some struggling vocally. And that to me can be enough at times for people, right? Just like I was flipping between beat and groove for the last one for Mamma Mia, because it's like, what matters more to people, right? And then I had to stay true to, okay, singers who dance is kind of how I've been looking at this. So we're gonna have to make singing that priority over the dancing, even though I am a dance analyst and I'm a dance choreographer and educator, right? So I have to understand that role. We're gonna talk about it. Maybe my opinion will become more clear as I analyze it. That's exactly what happened with Mamma Mia. So I'm very excited for this. And remember, I have no skin in the game at the end of the day. I'm just a perspective of many. So if you don't agree with me, that's okay. I'm just a friendly neighborhood dance appreciator who loves to look at people grow in movement. So anyway, so right here from the top, I like how we're frozen, boom, ding, and then we have the boom accent, and they all end up bleeding out of it. So that's really fun, super fun opening. We also have to remember this too, because I use this thing that I'm about to say whenever I pick music for my soloists or for my groups. So whenever an audience has never really heard a song before, or it's a song that's not well known, you have to calibrate time, or you have to factor in, okay, what happened to my brain when I heard this the first time? And that's what somebody's brain's going to be thinking about in this audience. There's a good chance that their attention's going to be split between what does the song remind me of and what's going on stage. So there is a chance that what the openings are doing in the very first group going, if they've never heard the song before, is, oh, this sounds just like Beast Fiction, right? But also I remember the MC, so Jay Park, he does a pretty decent job of introducing the tracks as well, that there's a chance that that's already been brought up. So now people are verifying whether or not it sounds like these tracks too. So I understand that. In my neck of the woods with dance competitions, there's no announcement of what the track's about or anything. We have to prove it in our movement, right, with the music. So, but yeah, that's a very interesting thing I want to point out here too, is whenever you hear the song, you may not be paying attention to the movement if you've never heard it before, right? So, but anyway, I like the branch out of it. So I like the uppercuts that are happening here with the press outs, which is really nice. We go up and then we throw it, which is also cool. And we present, boom, boom. Look at them covering up his abs. Good for you. So it's just funny. Anyway, so I like how he does a little speed change. He lowers that arm and they push the arms away, which is nice. They go out to inside, and I like how we're framing it. Nice 90. It feels, yeah, it's nice when they create a little pocket. He takes his arms through. They do a little rotation. He opens it, boom, and they take him, push him to the back. They go chest, boom, boom. Yeah, so all this reminds me of the angsty vampire era. This is what's giving me Vix, man. So up, so da 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 da. Guys, that song's so good. Yeah, so the little head roll around that is really nice. So the reversal is fun. So I really like the branch offs on this. Yeah, so it's just cool to go. So I like the tension on there. If we're gonna go, so I know some people have asked me, Jessica, who's improved the most for you? I think out of this entire round, I think he's improved the most. Right there. I really do, because it's well, firstly, I would say my guy who was on Team B, where he was getting a ton of slack, right, from the whole narrative that was being done in the last couple episodes, he didn't stand out at all whenever we analyzed him. So I think he gets the improved award, and he gets the improved award right here. He's so freaking captivating. Like this is we could see him get traded performance, because that's how good that was. Does that make sense? You know, sometimes people perform so well, you're like, I know what I need, and they're like, that's who I'm gonna steal if I have the opportunity. Some people like can gain your attention in that way. So this is a stealable performance. He did fantastic. Yeah, da da da. It brings it through, really nice, and the pull through is also really nice out of that. And then we take it through. Yeah, really nice on the little pulses on this too. Yeah, and also based on their tone, I'm getting Ravi vibes. Do you know what I mean? I find this, gosh, this is so Gen 2 coded. I am loving it. Jong Sub knew exactly what he's absolutely right. There's so much Gen 2 relevance to this. It's really fun. Yeah, hit it through and then we drop down. So now analyzing it, I see the intro, at least the intro has that more newer generation taste about it in the syncopation. So that's why I'm saying there's sometimes when I can retract a statement so quickly whenever I go to analyze it. That's why we get to do this position, which is why the whole video is super fun. Anyway, so the switches are nice. The wave on this, which is nice. Click, click was also really fun. The branch around, they bring it up, and the pulls are nice to see there. Nail bomb. So they drop down. So I like honestly, I like the subtle color coordination of having the 3 in white, and of course he has this white outlier, which is fine, but having them there, so it's pretty nice to be able to see your center there. They push through, they go out in, nice little pulse on that. They go up and they go around, boom, and they pull, which is also a nice little trace on this. And everyone's waiting for the bedrock, the little boom, right? That's not what happens. So what do we do to replace what's going on in our head of expectation? Because that is a real thing, is people predict. And I've talked about this, the Bodman area, I think area 47 or 37. What happens is we have in our brain, okay, here's what I'm predicting. Boom. We're predicting the bedrock choreo, something iconic like that. And we're also looking for like high notes galore. We love it. Yeah. Now, like a falsetto, right? Now, whenever that doesn't happen, which is exactly what ends up happening with both groups, who allows my brain to appreciate and enjoy it more? Because there's real scientific case studies that have been done on this, on if I'm looking at a piece of information and it fails what my predicting pattern maker is wanting to see, and I don't like it, I'm going to look at it with a sense of disgust. Not them, but like the actual thing that's happening, which could be why you're like, oh, I don't like this song, and it makes you feel, that's why. That's very real, right? Now, some of you are like, now, right? Now, also, if you go the other route, you end up liking the choice. You learn something. You learn a new pattern to a new setup. And that people tend to fare very, very well. So what ends up happening here? Here we go. They don't bedrock. They don't do falsetto. What do they do instead? Projection. Boom. Nice and full. We end up doing a click, click. That to me shows we may have used the same choreographer for both bench and for starter. So that can always be a risk when you have overlapping fingerprints like this. We've already seen the ISO breakdown from starter nope, this is the starter, and then bench from earlier. So that showcases that can work against you to some degree. Not enough to where it actually like makes a huge difference, honestly, but it is something that we can note, where if you overlap fingerprints, meaning if you have certain movements like this breakdown ISO that's supposed to be an iconic moment in a previous track and you see it used here, it can lower the creativity and the complexity because you see it more saturated in the event that you're watching it at. So it'd be the same thing as, yes, an aerial is super dope, but if you see it in every single routine, it's not going to be deemed as a super dope thing after about the 5th time. Do you know what I mean? It goes back power of threes. When you see it, you're like, I'm ready to see the aerial in a different way, which isn't fair to the dancers, but that's a very real thing that gets seen, right? Anyway, and then they do a little body roll and double it up. Yeah, this course does have a, I like the syncopation choices to some degree in some of these cases. So yeah, it feels more recent generations, which I do appreciate. But some of these choices are like, not quite, it's not predictable, but there's a huge degree of familiarity to it, which because the track is very familiar, having a new perspective in composition and choreo could really benefit having a really familiarized track. But also the opposite can be true. If somebody has a familiar track, they want to see familiar choreography, but it be reshaped. So I understand both playing fields. My preference would be, if it's a familiar track, I want to see like a hybrid of both. I want to see like a new take on it that allows me to learn something, but still appreciate the nuances of the past. I don't know. So interesting. They bring over in the trace across, which is really fun. They melt down is fun. And preset. So everyone made, it's a subtle angle deviation from everybody. Nothing crazy there. Bring it out, boom, up. Nice little placement up. Wave there is fun. There's your tension. So I would say my note for them would be just understanding the arms if we're trying to go unison, because it feels like we are. Because no one's really deviated in dynamics or in levels at this point, which is what makes me think that. And we're not mirroring, right? So that would be my note there. I think that could have been cleaned up a little bit more. And they push through is also nice with a shoulder. Da-na-na. And I like the shoulder out of that. Head over, high-low, push away. There's your subtlety. Cool. So I like the level. So you see the contrast of levels here. That was the note that I gave. What was it? Was it Groove Bench Team's choreo? I think having this degree of a level shift would have been really helpful for their composition. But we kind of chalk it up to, we have different heights in the game here too. There could be easier to showcase one individual because of their height versus another. I get it. I understand. So that's really fun. Hit and hit and hit is also really fun. We're here for that. That was fun. Hold on. Let me see. Let me go back. I gotta see this whole progression again. Sorry. Okay. So I like how he takes it and it looks like he's controlling them. So that's a really nice element. And the LEDs, I do like the LEDs for this. It does feel very tasteful. It honestly makes them look like Team Beat, not Team Groove, but it's because all of the teams up to this point have used some sort of a color palette that ties into their team. So it could just be how I've been trained watching this challenge specifically. It took me a second. I'm like, is this Groove? You know what I mean? But not that they're doing something wrong or right or anything like that. It's just because of the color palette. But all that to say though, I really like the LED choices because it's tasteful to that medieval vampire-y angsty lover vibe, which is such a thing. Anyway, so he gets a little bit lower. I like how it's the other guy in the black, so it actually makes it easier to hide because of the darkness in the back. Yeah. So he goes hit up, has his moment, drops it down. I love that. You have the breath. We have it. We do a little throw on that. Every day, every night, and we goes pulse, pulse, pulse. So the drop, drop, drop is fun. Out of that, pick it up. They kick with the accent with the elbows is nice. And it goes mori da da da. So that's fun to see. The switch up there is fine. So yeah, with the rap section, that's gonna chalk up to preference for people too, right? So they're nice and chill, but I really do like the fact that we were mindful of who's in what costume, like in the color palette. We got the all black fitted individuals in the middle for a small group, and then you have the four on the outside. That is so pleasing to me, in symmetry and balance too. It's so fun. They hit it over, and then he branches away, and they push it through, push it into the other side. I don't know if other groups do it, but I notice it with Groove more than others, how they have two people hold down a harmony, or they hold down the melody together. It's really fun. And it allows a really dope support. Push around, I like that, and we bring it over, down, we clock that elbow back, and we represent it up. It's nice. And then switch, nice little step changes on there, so there's your wave out of that, and hit it down, and we do a nice little pull. Some are choosing to twinkle it in, some are choosing to do a fist. That does change the effect if you watch my guy in all black and my guy in all white, or the white. So look. You see how that reads different? And also the range will be adjusted because this one allows more tension through the move. This one allows, you can be faster with it because you're not having to factor in a visual with the fingers. So that's why that can look, if you want it to be a little bit crispier, you can kind of factor in how do you want to do the hand, just fingers or fist. But very, very well done on this the angsty vocals for that. Really fun. Like, I would really want to hear that on this track officially. Do you know what I mean? I like that hit, boom, up, boom. So I like that choice. And then they end up reversing it. So that was nice. And they do a little hold on that too. And I hear where they're going on. Boom, 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 boom. So I hear all of that. So that's really nice. Yeah. We can hear him, so he's like having to get more breath. It feels like that here, but it doesn't, he's not becoming unstable in the holds of the notes. You can just hear that he's placing his breath in places you normally wouldn't hear people place their breath on a track, right? So, nice. So all this is fine. Yeah, it's just cleaning up. It's cleaning up the choreo, and it's making it a little bit cleaner. You can see more in the upper body. The lower body and torso are pretty decent, if I'm being honest. Like, that range is good, and normally it's the other way around, where your extremities are clean, but the torsos are off. So, that's fascinating. Melts are nice. To the front, little matrixing move where they're placing one arm as an anchor to do the slide to the front. So as this moment, the pullback is nice. They go down and high. And I like how we had two of them appear and they didn't move whenever we kept having that contrasting transition. That was really cool. That was cool. I like that visual a lot. As it moves forward, give me that clock all day. If you want to throw an infinite in the mix, throw them bad boys in there too. I mean, I feel like, yeah, it's just Gen 2 boy galore. Just vomited all over this. I love it. This is a fantastic hold. And that really made him stand out in a great way because we didn't have other choreography in the mix. We just all broke out of it, just like the glass did on the LED. So that was actually a really, really dope choice for the stage side. He killed every single part he did. Really nice. He did great there too. They're very stable. And I like how they have the arm over. So this is a subtle fixed point of the shoulder as we go and we travel it down. That looks great. Dun, 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 dun. So all that looks really nice. He pushes away. Really fun. Accents down. Kum kum nima. They accent boom boom. The shoulder. Now that right there, people would be like, oh, he wavered. For me, that sounded, oh my gosh. Who does that? There's somebody who hits it like that. It's Gen 2. Hold on. Onu, I think, has hit notes like that, right? Where he's like, not swung through it. Yeah, that feels like it's shiny. No, what was it? Jonghyun, shiny. He would do that. Oh man, I love it. Okay. Yes to this. Yeah, bum, 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 bum. So analyzing it made this so much more competitive after the analysis, which is why I love doing these, because I love having my perspective shifted while we're looking and appreciating so many different nooks and crannies of a routine. That is really only the tip of the iceberg whenever we go to watch something for the first time. Which, if anything, I hope that allows you guys to be able to, because you're seeing my perspective shift so much in this. It's not because I'm incompetent. I know how to analyze choreography, right? So it's not It's not like Jessica doesn't know what she's looking for. We don't have a schema to go off of, so we're going off of what I can come up with for my own schema, and I try to make it as objective as possible from how we view K-pop choreography to the general public, because that's, at the end of the day, they're going off to debut as a K-pop group, right? Maybe global in the mix too. That'd be really dope. But my point is that a lot of things that I'm looking at this from is okay, if they were performing this on Music Bank, right, would I give these the same notes? The answer is yes. Like I would. I'd be like, something's interesting there, right? And you're just dealing with a different demographic of who's watching. You're not watching people who are watching a competition show. You're watching a group that's trying to become more global and more well known among the masses in the world, right? So, but some of the things can still be overlapped together. So if anything, I hope this allows, going back to my original point I wanted to make, was I want there to be, I think, more grace extended to people having differing opinions. I think it's something that I've noticed we don't have as much, in certain spaces. Like on Reddit, it's going to be hard to find that. It's Reddit, right? People like to be very, very honest, and very, with the emotional significance that comes with it, which I understand. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but even in my own comments, I've noticed that there are individuals that can be very emotionally heightened, which I understand. If there's certain results that happen in the show out of certain things that get focused on when it doesn't feel fair, it's SBS. There's no fair TV competition show that I have found. Even when shows have gotten close, no, because there's always a narrative that gets pushed in order to promote the show to the masses, because some people like drama. Do you know what I mean? Most people like to watch drama unfold. So I hope that, if anything, by you seeing me, this is not my first rodeo on analyzing the show. A lot of you have come back to watch me because you appreciate how I look at these, which I thank you, and I'm very humbled by that always. And I always am open to trying to be better at and being a better steward of this. I really hope that by seeing me shift in, I can see it pull this group, I can see it pull this group, that it allows more grace to each other when your team loses or when your team wins, to understanding why people may not think the same way as you, because I'm sitting here thinking about 15 different ways of how a team could win over somebody else based on the audience that's there. Do you know what I mean? So that's a bit long-winded, but I did want to make that point before getting into the final analysis on this, because I think that's very important. And also keep that in mind in the comments too. I do read all of them, even if I don't respond to all of them. I read them all. Okay, here we go. From the top. They're starting. I have a feeling the camera just started early compared to, they started late whenever the track was already starting. So, because right here it feels like they started immediately, but I feel like they kind of did, but there's probably something that they were able to count in. The lean hinge over was really cool. So they've already created a barrier, right? So like having the chains was really cool, but the grabs are nice. I love the twinkling on that. So it looks like they have the same, like a very similar lighting that the other team had. Which is cool. I love that. Boom, da 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 da. We just established ourselves. We have the hit and the hit, so we have the rebound is really nice. The throws are down, which is cool. So now we, as an audience, are already saturated. We understand what the track is, so we get to really, honestly, the audience, there's a higher chance that the audience is going to focus on this group's intro more than the first group, because they're too busy hearing the song and trying to validate whether or not it has that Jinju flair. So I'm telling you, that's a very real thing. Some audience members are going to be like that, and other audience members can look at both intros, no problem. And then you have some audience members who really don't care about this group. They're just going to vote for groove. And some audience members are not going to care about groove, and they're going to vote for rhythm. It's subjective. It's a subjective art competition. So we're going to move on. So the grab through, the contrast with the red, like that red really does stand out. Now, if they wanted us to focus on other people outside of him, we would need more red showcased in, or the lighting allows us to see more of the red, right? So the drop down, it is hard to see what's going on with the contrasted levels because we don't have a background. It's mostly black, and you have it significantly darker on stage. Maybe in the audience it's way easier, but for camera, it's a bit tricky for us to see everything going on. So there's contrast of levels that is happening right here. So I'm trying to think. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can only realistically see 5 out of the 7 right now. So you have a high, he's low connected, right? And then you have my 2 in the spotlight. I have a feeling there's 2 more that are like right here. I cannot see them at all. Like that is very surprising to me right now. Yeah, they're right there. So I can't see that. The only way I can is maybe if I'm assuming that they're there because of the chain link. So that would be an LED note. I think they get the same. They get an LED note here, like I gave to the last to Groove bench team. The look up is fine. The little shoulder, ding, ding. The hit, do, which is cool. Yeah, and here's why. Because you have a red, but you have such a stark red going on right here, which it matches that kind of like, that, and it's not medieval, but it does give they got similar intentions, but they match their rhythm color palette, which is cool. So I like that they're all nice and low, cool contrast, and they go and they present. So when it comes to complexity of their syncopation or their dynamics, I really do prefer rhythm and composition, but it all comes down to how the vocals were sounding, because SBS likes to modify them too. I'm not gonna ignore that either. They're bringing it over, and how do people prefer the grunginess of some of our vocal tones too, right? So they hit it, the little accent down, they hit over, they drop. They are much cleaner here than they were in the first challenge, so they get a clap for that. Huge improvement when it comes to a team award. They improved a lot as a group, because that was a note I gave them, right? Where they had really dope choreo, but they were not clean. So they presented over. So I like that choice with our feature over. It makes it really fun to see our feature show up in different spots. So that was nice. And they're down on the ground, they bring it over, so he has this moment. But notice, with our features, we had a feature with a red fit, and he's right in front of that heavy red saturated look, and then we have our feature in black, and he's in the black section of that, which I find to be so fascinating, right? And then over here with the contrast, I like how they pick it up and over. So if I'm being real, if this was a contrasted look where it was red with black, I think that would have read so much better than going black to red. But can they control that? I don't know. Remember, this is the team versus team challenge. This is not just the 7 members. There's so many logistics happening. They could do everything their best, but if the LEDs and the costuming are trash and the choreography doesn't set them up for success, like that happens sometimes, right? So that's why I'm touching on so many things outside of just how did they do. They did great. Every team did great. In so many different ways. Everybody improved. Everybody wins at the end of the day for me, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to being able to grow in the craft and skill sets that are required to be efficient at the job of idol, right? Everyone's done that. Now, who was the most competitive out of all the groups? That I don't know. We got to analyze and then we'll figure it out, right? But anyway, so the tension there is nice. The switch over is fun. So I like the contrast, but do you notice like what you just saw right there? My guy in black right there. With the red. Like, look at that. He was really easy to clock because of that, right? But I will also give a shout out to the choreographer. It's been fairly easy to know who my features are despite my LED observation, right? So that's really well done. I like the presentation out with the angles is nice. I like how they brought it from high to low. I do like the chains and now they're red versus the black. That was cool. That was fun. Da-da-da. The bleed overs were fun, so it's nice and rotational. So he's still my feature. God. So I like how we swung. And then we have this moment right here over on that stage right side. They're dropped nice and low. They rotate around out of opposition. And we hit, boom, nice little strictness or rigidness as we go. And we kind of huddle on each other. And then we end up bleeding it around. So he has this moment. I do wish that they were just a smidgen a little bit lower. But I know that can be really tricky if you're transitioning to a different position that requires you to not be so low to transition to it. I understand that. And they go hit, hit, boom, boom. And hit, boom, boom, hit, and dot, dot, dot. That's fun. Okay. Yep. Prison. Now they hit, boom, da, da, da. And so they have the arms over. It does have a stiffness, except for your feature. He stays his head up. Everybody else is really strong in the head going down and up. So I really like that. And they throw it over. And then you have prison. They do the same arm. They do the same arms in the same part. But Groove they doubled it. They did a single and they showcased different levels. I think that's another interesting thing to factor into this too, right? Out of the two, who did I prefer for that section? I liked rhythm section for that. Yeah, so da da, and we drop it down, and we drop high low. Some subtlety going on with the head. Prison. And they go into out. So I really like this choice where they keeping this arm. It's not really a fixed point, but they are showing contrast between one arm to the other. One connects to the head, one connects in opposition. And they go across and then they drop, which is also nice. And go hit and hit with the uppercut is also nice. Body roll. And then we create tension out of that, which is nice. And we pull. Let's go. Dun, dun, dun. So I like the cross, uncross, and then we bring it up. And then we hit over, and I like the presentation of the arm on this. And they go, so good, so. And then it looks like he's pulling them to accent. So we already have overlapping dynamic accents. Makes so much sense when the track is so familiar the way that it is. There's going to be certain textures that are done to it that are effective because you've seen tracks like this be very popular for the reason why Changsub had the arrangement done. Does that make sense? So there's going to be already like certain familiarity in our move, like in our texture at least. So I think that's where I'm going to land on that for my previous point I made way back a couple analyses ago, where you like my preference is probably I want to see familiarity of the choreo, but in the texture side, not in the content itself side. The content you can innovate, but still add that texture of like, ooh, it feels good to the track. Maybe that's the kind of hybrid preference for me, but I don't mind. I don't mind what we have though. So I want to keep that in mind too. So I like the little framing shampoo frame on that, which is nice. Bringing it through, they cross over. Bum, 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 with the hop on that, and then they push it forward. So I like that. So we go and we regress, and we take it from the outside to inside, and we take our arm up and over, and then we port a broad out on the sound. They do a really good job on actually hearing that sound in the music. So they cover him. That is fun. They regress it. He drops down, and then it goes slow, slow, low, low, up. That part, this is cool. They goes boom. It's like they took the door and they closed it, right? Pushing him back and they all collapse, which is also nice. And they come up. And then it does lose intensity here, preferentially for me. They hit it over, that mori da da da. It does feel like, okay, we're like conserving our energy. It feels like that. It also clocked in my head, I'm wondering if we're going to be able to make it to the end. Because it was starting to hear it right here. Yeah, that's so. Now that part there, it's like we're trying to go intense and it's not working. In composition, the reason why I'm saying that is because, yes, the arrangement's the same in the other one. The reason why I didn't clock it in the other one is because the choreography here makes it give the impression, to me, that we're trying to go really intense, but we're not intense in our dynamic and in our texture, right? So that's my observation there. Now the switch up there, so now we have our feature over on the stage left side. I like the subtlety on that, which was fun. They melt down. And then we have somebody go walk over and create a little mirroring effect. So that was a really cool visual. But I hope you're able to pick up on why I was feeling. If it was just that beginning up until the end of the first chorus, I really would have felt like Rhythm had it. But from here out, it feels a little, it feels like a different routine to me, right? The subtle add-on is fine. Could it be because the energy, we put all of our energy and intensity in the beginning? Maybe. I don't know. That could be a movement regulation thing. Yeah, because some of our guys are a little bit more muted in their torso compared to others. And so when you see them dance next to each other, so my guy in the black top and the red top, you see, like, he's able to feel it pretty decently, but notice that it feels like we're letting our head and our legs do most of the movement, but our torso is super locked up. As long as everybody makes that choice, it feels intentional. But when I just see a couple of people do it and everybody else is going more full, that looks like we are, we're compensating for us not being able to go more full and stay stable, which I understand. But you want to try to avoid people thinking that way, because that's going to affect your cleanliness. Yeah, so take it up, high, low, which is nice. Drop it down. So I liked his intensity there. That was really nice. I love that. Yeah, and I like how they made it more like a little parentheses in the formation, and I like how they brought it side to side, which is nice. A little ball change out of that is nice. And I like how they made it a prison as they moved, right, over. Fun rotation. This was a fun add-on too. Cross and up. Da, da, da. And we did just same legs for the first two and different arms, and then we just made it a whole nother moment here with the fixed pointed hands, and we pull, and then we pull it in. Come on now. And we reset, boom, subtlety in the shampoo like what we've seen before. I like the column there. That was fun how they all went to the diagonal and he said, oh, hi there. So that was really fun. And then they go near, and then bring it back into the column. Yep, so I like the presentation, boom, 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 fold outs, which is nice. Which is cool. They hit, boom, and boom. The melts are really nice. And he has his moment, the little chains in the back. He twinkles it in. Pull through is also nice. And then we have the head, and then that felt like an ending to me, right? Because it felt like, okay, we're Oreo cookie bookending it. I mean, they didn't do this in the beginning, but they did it to make it a moment. And then seeing it again, I'm like, okay. That honestly probably would have fared as a fantastic ending versus right before we're about to pop off. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's my no I would give just out of preference. And then, but I like the transition out of it though. So it's like, oh man. And then they all just slow out of it, and he's singing and projecting, which is nice, but he's not giving me this performance of prison. Like, I'm out of it. I'm in it. I'm stuck in it. There's no angst about it. It's just I'm holding a note. So that's an observation I noticed there for me and how I took that. The melts, all the melts are like, we're doing something. We're not making it a moment. Like, there's a difference to me in how I'm reading that. Na, 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 na. The pulse there, that was really cool there. Shoulders are nice, so some of us are going more full, some are going subtle. The body roll there was fun. That kung kung dun dun. And I had to switch up to that. I like the style. The switch up stylized hands are really, really fun on this. I love that a lot. Really fun. Body roll, and the extra pulse, the little boom, the extra what is it? Extra hit on that's really fun. So, and he retracts it, and then they end up going boom to close it, which felt like a true Oreo cookie effect. They started and they finished it, right? The same, but then they were down. So I understand we were going for like this lingering effect. I do think it would have been fine to have the cage and then just lower the cage, or have them like have it okay. So okay, I'm still processing in my head. So they went, covered up my guy, and then they covered him up, and then they had our final course. The beginning and the end were the same. So that felt like I understood, okay, we are getting back from where we started, but we didn't finish the exact way that we started. We all dropped out of it. Like, okay, we're all chained, bound in some way. So I understand that. I do find it interesting how it was formatted, but not in a positive or negative way, just intrigued, very intrigued by that. Right. So in all, I can see with all of these teams, which is so fascinating to me, with Mamma Mia and with Prison, and of course we've already seen what happened with Ignition. Makes total sense. I really could see it swing either way for so many different reasons. And I hope by you watching me walk through these, you're able to see where my head's going on. Okay, I can see them win here for this reason. I can see them win here for this reason. Or I can see it win for it has nothing to do with how they did on stage, which sucks. I want it to be more objective, but it's a subjective competition with a subjective perspective in the audience. They're not judges. They're fans. There's a difference, right? I'm not going to sit here and expect fans to look at these routines the way that I am. That's fine, right? So I don't know, guys. Could not tell you at all who's gonna win what. I can see Beat winning for Mamma Mia, right? Like, I can see them win because they're the starter team, and so there's a sense of like, I'm gonna vote for the starter team because I can't decide. When in doubt, go with starter team because that's their track that they're defending, right? And then other people can be like, I'm going for Groove because I like their stability more than Team Beat, and I wasn't so focused on it as much. And then some people can be like, I like the LEDs on Team Beat more than Groove. Like, I'm telling you, some people can vote that flippantly, and that's okay because it's people at the end of the day. And if you're making a group that's meant for people, then you're gonna have people have opinions based on anything and everything, right? So, and then going into here, if we're going, I like their LEDs and I like their structure and they were stable, so I could see them pull a win. And then over here, I love their beginning and I love some of their dynamic choices and how they chose to go about showcasing the prison imagery, very creative, but for me, I guess, oh my gosh, I still, like with Mamma Mia, this is such a freaking toss-up for so many different reasons. Man, I don't know. Okay, I'm not even gonna do it. You've heard me flip-flop between that. We're just gonna let the episodes deciding. I didn't even vote, so it doesn't even matter with me. Okay, I would probably vote out of these two, to end it all, I would probably vote for the Groove starting team for this. Even though there were certain things where it's like, you can kind of teeter, it may look a little bit not really inspired, but we're trying to cover the era more so than this is a new track in the new generation, but we're inspired by the era. That's just a preference on who's super deep in the Gen 2 side and who's not. I have a nostalgic, like super nostalgic. Chongsub was making this routine for me. Does that make sense? People like me who grew up in that Gen 1, Gen 2 era. So then with this team here, if it's, I really do think they put up one heck of a fight. I can see them scoring well. Yeah, I don't expect any of these to be like a full blowout. I don't think. I mean, Groove, I could see they have a really good, strong domestic fan base in the audience, so they could pull it, right? You know, a beat has such a captivating composition, but the stability, they were more stable, which I do think matters to a certain degree, and they did have complexity of content, so that does help them in that sense. But before we finish, just to finish on like a fun little note here, just for funsies, let's pull up some receipts here. So these are the 2 tracks for The Prison that I was really ride or dying on, that I thought it was inspired by, even though I understand Chong Sub said it was Big Bang and Fiction by Beast. We're pulling up Error right here. So let's listen. Just the beginning of it. So let's do it. Cool, so I just thought we needed to do that. And look, they're all in prison. Isn't that sad? Okay, and then I pulled up, like, around the course of Fiction. So I know there's some people that watch this that are like, I have not heard a single Gen 2 track. Here's 2 of them. Okay, here we go. Get ready. Okay, cool. Now you know. Fantastic. So let's go back to boom, and on this kind of note, thank you guys again for watching, and I'll put a disclaimer on my comments, so please watch the entire analysis if you do not agree with my perspective, because it switched so much more in this analysis than any other time in the show, which just proves how competitive all of these routines are, right? I loved this. I love the fact that we have some intentionality of the way that we do, and the directors and their investment on these tracks. So fun, right? And all the teams are really, they're like, we are wanting to win. So I'm really holding out. Like, for me, ideally, I want all the teams to have a song they get to do, you know, but also I don't want those that are having yellow cards to get another yellow card out of placement. It's just so freaking dicey, isn't it? So I'm excited for the episode. I will not be able to look at the episode until later today that I'm recording this, so please keep the spoilers to a minimum, at least until a day, like till the 24th, you know, day after this goes live on YouTube. Just so I can have the privilege of unraveling it for myself. And I will be looking at the camera shots when the episode, you know, when I watch it, just so I can appreciate those, because the camera shots do make the routines look so different in really cool ways, right? So gotta keep that in mind. And I do know a lot of individuals who come to watch the analysis. I look at these cams, so I'm not influenced by SBS. And also it allows me the privilege of actually seeing what the audience sees to know how I would vote too. So you guys know me, I know you. I had a lot of fun. This has been great, and I'm excited for the discussions, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye!